Hi friends, guess what just arrived? We're taking a look at the new Natasha Denona Zendo palette. But first, if it's your first time here, hi, I'm Alicia. Thank you so much for clicking on my video. And if you are returning, well, thank you for visiting me again. Kinky Sweat stands for my kinky hair and sweat life. I'm a fitness professional who loves things, all movement and beauty. If you want to check out what I do in between the makeup, so you can head over to my Instagram. Funny story, I did not know Zendō was coming out. I actually was away at Power Monkey Camp. It's CrossFit inspired, but niche down to the several skills found in that realm of fitness. You do rings, you do kettlebells. It's a lot of fun. So I'll put the link down below if you're interested in attending the retreat in October. But all that to say, I was away and was not really in tune with what was going on because the Wi-Fi was, in and out. Got a text from my girl Pam to say that Zendō was coming out and that it was on pre-sale on the Thursday. I ordered it with the weak Wi-Fi. I was amazed. And then I received a FedEx alert that originally said it was going to arrive on Monday. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I have enough time. Received another alert to say that it was on its way the next day on Friday. I was like, oh wow, because usually items that are available for pre-sale won't ship out until the said palette is live, but they sent it out. I was going in a little bit of a panic because I wasn't there, and I just wanted to do all the things all at the same time. But sometimes you gotta surrender to the timeline that's available. So here I am before another class I have to teach. Wanted to get into the first impressions. Now my biases are as follows. I love Natasha Denona, so I'll be going into this first impressions enthusiastically. I have a lot of her palette reviews on my channel. I will have my Natasha Denona playlist linked below, which will include reviews and multi-look videos using her palettes. I am on her PR list as I did receive Trio Chrome and Glam. And I think I received another one from the team, which I'm so grateful for. Even so, I always ended up buying the palette anyway because, we want to see these videos hot and fast. So any palettes that came in the mail from PR, I would include in a giveaway. But I bought this on Thursday, arrived a day later. Hooray. So there we go. Love Natasha Denona. I am on her PR list. First impressions, let's go. We have the Zendō palette, which I actually love the color of this mirrored chrome for the midi size palette. So she first introduced this size with Sunrise, which we were thrilled about because originally Natasha Denona palettes are much larger. They retail for $129. You get a lot of product for your buck, but maybe not ideal for a consumer or even beauty enthusiast who's not looking to use all that eyeshadow. And I believe this is the 5th installment of this size because previously we had Sunrise, Love, Bronze, and the most recent Glam. And this is an expanded version of her mini Zendō that came out last year. So we have a continuation of this Zen wellness meditation type of a theme that's very much inspired by the 5 elements of water, fire, wood, and metal. Water, fire, wood, metal, and earth. There we go. I'm very much connected to that concept as I teach a class called Body Art that is very much inspired by the 5 elements, and the movements that we do in class reflect those different energies. And upon opening, ooh, my goodness, we have a warm tone palette with the pops of blue. But I think for me, this is like the warm with the pop of blue 2.0. You got a lot more than just one blue. You have several tones of green here. In addition, you have corals, browns, and bronzes. So I was actually quite surprised looking at this color story based on what we had from the mini Zendō. This is definitely, I feel, a cooler version of what the bigger version has to offer. So we'll see when we get into the swatches, but some quick product details here, fam. This palette retails for $65. It is still available for pre-sale on the Natasha Denona website, which is where I ordered my palette from. I'm taking a look at Natasha's IG to see if perhaps we got some dates here. Launching online May 10th, 12 a.m. Eastern Standard at natashadenona.com. That's tomorrow. I'd like to get this up by tonight. We shall see. And exclusively on the Sephora app, available now for pre-order. Okay, so tomorrow it'll be available on the Sephora app. In stores, however, for Sephora US and Sephora Canada on May 28th, Beaulish May 26th, and you have the UK dates and all the other European city dates on this post. And I'll be more than happy to include this Instagram link down below. In addition to the price, we're looking at a suggested shelf life of 24 months. We have a total of 15 shadows, total weigh in 19.25 grams, and each pan will weigh in at 1.28 grams of product. Mineral oil free, preservative free, UV filter free, paraben free, alcohol free, not tested on animals, and of course, this palette is made in Italy. This comes in the plastic frame with a sizable mirror, which I love. It stands up on itself, so you could utilize this as your to-go mirror if you were relying just on this for the other portions of your makeup routine. You have the pinholes on the back here indicating that the palette frame is magnetic, which will allow you technically to go into your other Natasha Denona palettes and switch out and add in other pans of the same size if you like, so you could go custom with it. And here on the website it says a warm tone palette inspired by the mini Zendō, featuring 15 looking at new shades, fam. Iconic Natasha Denona pressed pigment eyeshadows, includes hues of pink, brown, coral, and peach with pops of turquoise. A combination of shades that conceptualizes a mix of elements, an ambiance where wood meets metal and nature meets modern. I read on the label that this was not tested on animals, but it also says here that it's cruelty-free and allergen free. Here's a close-up of the palette untouched before I get my grubby hands in it. Did you get the screenshot? Okay. First, Mindful. Looking at her cream to powder formula, a medium cinnamon. Ooh, that's pretty. We've seen this color before, but it's in her cream to powder formula, which it starts out as a cream but blends and lays down like a powder. Is actually very user-friendly and just looks very much skin-like in nature with the blend. Luster, a metallic bronze gold. Ooh, forgive me, this is where my watch rested. I'm going to continue. There we go. That part of my wrist was a little sweaty. That's a nice copper with the yellow flip, a gold flip. Balance, a creamy matte light medium caramel. This is a true powder matte. This is again cream to powder, so that's a slight difference between those textures. Flow, a metallic medium, what does it say here, silver blue teal. Oh, that's pretty. I definitely detect the silver. Yes, I love that, because sometimes her turquoises lean a little like oceany blue. I love my camp sweatshirt, but I gotta take it off. Oh, don't mess it up. Don't mess it up. I try to wear earrings that kind of match Zendō. They lean a little more orange, but you know what? It's okay. Oh, and I totally messed up my brows. It's fine. Mantra, a cream to powder medium greenish teal. Ooh, that's lovely. Dare I say, maybe because it's the first swatch, but gives me a little more than the cream to powder from Metropolis. But, you know, we'll see, because when you use the cream to powder a lot, it could get a little hard pan, which makes it a little tricky when you keep using that same color. But this hit it right on the money. Texture-wise, I love it. I don't know if you could already tell with the names of the colors, very much alludes to meditation, balance, yin yang type of thing. Feel very calm swatching these colors. Aura. DC, I think, stands for Diamond Crystal, medium golden orange red. Yes. I forgot what DC means in Natasha Denona language. Is an acronym for a certain finish. I don't know it off the top of my head. I'll put it right up next to me. This is more satin. As you can see, it's not completely matte like the cream to powder or the traditional powder. Not as shiny as the traditional metallics, but it has really nice creaminess to it. Vigor, creamy matte, medium, muted, what does it say? Red coral. Oh, that's pretty. I like that a lot. Relief, cream matte light medium coral. Equilibrium, metallic medium dark silver teal. I can't read. Medium dark silver teal. Yes, I was right. This is a lot more midnight blue compared to what you find in Metropolis for sure. And last in this row, we have Breath. Into the nose and out to the mouth. Cream to powder, pastel mint. Oh, I like that. All right, last row, fam. Ooh, I'm excited for this one. We have Scents, a metallic pink copper. Anything pink copper, that is just my jam. All day, just that color all over the lid, crease and lower lash line. You're done. Tranquil, metallic, light, warm rose. Ooh, I like that too. Not as strong as the teal colors, although it says metallic, definitely metallic, but as you see here, I feel like you get a little more shine from that one. Although we could wet it. We'll see how it looks on the lid. Calm. Cream to powder, light peach. Oh, that's lovely. My spacing today is just off. This palette, for a midi-sized palette, compared to Metropolis, actually has a lot of cream to powder textures in it, which I like. I like that texture a lot. Hit or miss with some people, but we'll see. Next up, we have Yama. I'm going to put Yama up here if you don't mind. Light peach bronze with green reflex. Oh, there it is. That's beautiful. This kind of reminds me of what exists in the Viseart Attendus and Edit palettes, that like sorbet base with that green flip. That's beautiful. I love that combination. And lastly, we have Zeal. A creamy matte. Oh boy. Here we go. Dark, dusty army green. That is beautiful. Definitely leans more neutral. Okay, here we go. We have the entirety of Zendō. I really like this color combination. I know people might be disappointed to discover that, yes, there's a lot of warm tones with the pop of blue. Although I do think the warm tones included are very sophisticated in terms of the shade and the mood, you know what I'm saying? So I can't wait to dive in. Giving you a heads up, I don't have time to do even one look. So I'm going to pause here, get ready to teach class, and after we'll get back in, do 4 looks, and finish with the first impression thoughts. How does that sound? See you in a bit. We're back. Class is done. Let's get into these looks, shall we? And with that said, why don't you come in a little closer? That's enough. For these looks, I will be using Danessa's Color Fix Primer, her invisible eyeshadow base to prep these lids. I'm looking at my cuticles, fam, and they are atrocious. But then, of course, I don't know where my nail oil pen is. So I guess I'm gonna have to just not worry about it. This doesn't have any color to it, so if you do have very discolored lids and you prefer to use concealer so that you can block it out, or more specifically even out the lid, you can go ahead and do that. So I saw a few of Natasha's tutorials, and there was one she did where she started out with the wing. I just want to do all the looks. We're gonna do this one. Going in with my Hokuro Sora series eyeshadow brush with Mindful. This is a cream to powder formula, and it's very soft and easy to work with, Natasha says. So if you find that mattes are tough to blend, well, we're done. That's the eye look. Thank you for coming, everyone. Very soft. And I'm using Canadian Squirrel, which I think picks up the texture beautifully. All right, that's okay. Next step, now with Scents, this beautiful bronze pink shade with my Hokuro Moe brush. Oh, this picks it up real nice. That's pretty. I usually don't like to use light, but I'm going to turn on my Glam Core because just so you can see, unfortunately, it got very cloudy between now and when I started class, unfortunately. DC stands for duochrome. Duh. Going in with Aura now, which is one of the duochromes. Overlapping Scents, so I'm bringing that more on the lid. That's a beautiful transition. And using the edge of the Moe brush to whip some of that into the crease and bringing it out to meet Mindful. I like that. She actually went in with aura with her finger. So if you wanted to pick more up, that's really nice. And also really nice to blend. I find if you just wanted to rely on this shade for a one and done moment, you most certainly can do that. And just to quickly show you what it likes without the light, I think we'll keep it like that. It's not too dark, hopefully. Now on my Refer 28 brush with Tranquil, Natasha took Tranquil on the inner part of the eye. I think as our, well, maybe she went in with something else. I don't quite remember. Well, that's pretty. Then she goes in with Vigor, excuse me. But she goes in with it quite precisely. But I'm going to actually use it to buff the edges. So I'm not going to be as precise as Natasha, as I want it to look a little more hazy. This is pretty good overlapping the other textures. Now, typically I will probably go in with this first and then maybe a metallic after, but I think it's fun just to mix up how you apply textures and kind of play with the different methods you could utilize to layer looks with. Bringing it out here. Again, she was a lot more precise than me, but you see how that really warms it up. Then with Relief, she goes in on the inner part of the eye and uses this coral matte, or rather this light peach, to create a little more fluff and dimension. Dare I say, this will probably make a beautiful blush shade. And then she goes in with Calm and further diffuses the top portion of the look. So she's really going in on this layering, fam. More Vigor as I'm trying to mimic what she did. I totally went a little too smoky. She was a lot more precise with her placement, but it's all good. But what she did was go in with Luster and right under Vigor to further define that cut crease like shape. I think initially this was supposed to be a cut crease moment, but I totally steered it in another direction entirely. But I think that's a great way to distinguish Vigor from the shades on the lid. She left the lower lash line alone, but you know me, how I like to get crazy with the lower lash line. Taking Vigor and that be the prominent shade, I think, to start us off here. With Mindful, my Refer 3, I want to be really careful in connecting because I went a little overboard at the top, which is fine, but I just want to be a little more precise here with the lower lash line blend. Now with Tranquil on the inner lower lash line, that's such a beautiful color. We've seen it before, absolutely. I just love that it's in here. It has it's not too peach, too coral, too pink, is right in between that part of the spectrum. And actually, I want to do a little bit of Luster and just hit it right on top and layer those together. I'm going to wet it, same brush, and go back on the crease. There we go. And really kick up the shine here, because I think that's going to make it even more impactful. Then with Aura, I'm patting it down more on the lid so we could get a little bit of that back. Now in my Refer 15, just blending everything together. Well, okay. It's eye number 1. Do I want to go? You know what? I will reserve the next round for the water, wood, or rather, yeah, I guess water, earth, and metal side of the spectrum of the palette. Let's go in with Balance. I know that's like the typical beauty influencer way to go, but what are you going to do? With my Yano Series 8 brush, I'm taking Balance and whipping that in the crease. This is more, I would say, a warmer leaning brown, but beautiful on its own. Just take it a little bit beyond the edge of the lash line here. I'm taking a little bit of Calm with the same brush, and much like what I tried to do on that side, but I don't think I was successful in layering the colors well, I want to hit Calm on the inner part of the eye because I think it's quite nice to bring in that peachy hue. Definitely now with luster, I'm going in with my finger and just placing that all over the lid here. Slightly overlapping balance, and I think tapping is going to just help yield a better scatter effect with that shade. And now with Yama, which is like this beautiful duochrome shade on the inner part of the eye, overlapping luster. I think that's a great pair. Actually, let me take my shader brush again, specifically my Refer. Oh, well, you know what? I don't know where it is. Oh, nope, found it. And placing more of that shade on the inner part of the eye. I'm taking Mindful with the same brush, and I want to hit it on the top lash line for a little more definition, a little more depth. In fact, you could probably go in with Vigor on the lid as well if you wanted, you know, a different color other than brown. And then back in with my Refer number 3 just to punch in more color. Now with Relief, maybe the wrong thing to do, but I actually want to put this more of a peachy shade on the bottom here. It's going to look like I have sickly eyes, but, you know, I think it's so pretty. Why not go with it? And also, to better make it appear like it's intentional, I think it a good idea if you wanted to layer either Aura or Tranquil over Relief, just so it could look a little more impactful. Like when you put the shine on there, it doesn't look as a tree pollen stricken eye. We're just gonna fix that real quick. Let's go Relief as a blush, because I think that will be quite beautiful. Oh yes, that's very pretty. I'm gonna go on this side with it. I want to see what Calm can do. Maybe like on the top. Oh, I like that. It leaves behind a really nice sheen. You could either go in with Relief or Calm on the cheeks, and the blend is really nice. That definitely added a nice flush. I'm taking both and just whipping it across my nose so I could get like that sunburnt look, like literally. With my Surratt brush, I want to go in with Yama on the cheekbones. I think that duochrome is so beautiful as a highlight, very much appropriate for this look because it has that slight green flip, which because of that, you could either pair it with the peach coral side or the green turquoise side, because the base of it is coral and the flip is green. So a genius colored duochrome to include in this curation, I might say. No other than Natasha Denona's I Need a Nude. I should put on Amorosa, but do I know where she is? I don't know. This is Sammy. Do I like that? We'll keep Sammy on, but I want to hit it with a little bit of Michelle so I can add a little more dimension here. All right, that's good. Let's pop on some lashes and I'll be right back. Lashes are on. What do we think, fam? Ooh, close-up of the eyes. And here is a wide shot of both looks using primarily the pinks and the corals. Now, Patricia, hey Patricia, took class this afternoon and I was telling her that I was filming with the Zendō palette and she was asking me if it looked really pink. So if it was too pink or truly coral in person. I do think this is definitely more coral leaning than, let's say, bronze. And if you were worried if it was too pink in nature, I don't think it's going to be pink monochromatic like the Love palette, where clearly you have the color story being dominated by pinks, purples, and reds that are a lot warmer in nature versus what you see here in Zendō. I think it's a little more muted, and you have some of the bronze and the browns, I think, that kind of hold it down a little bit and doesn't go too far into the coral fringe, if you will. And before we get into the second round, I do think the mini is a great edit of the mood and vibe for Zendō, right? You have the coral shades both in matte and metallic, and then you have the more cooler shades here and this beautiful bronze shade that definitely is one of my favorites, I think, out of all Natasha Denona shades, period. It's like this bronze but with like a mauve feel to it, and I think it's completely and utterly beautiful. Whereas the bronze here, in sense, is more pink bronze. So you see the difference there. This is definitely more pink. This is definitely more mauve-y, cooler in tone, but the base is still bronze. So definitely between the mini Zendō and the big Zendō, I think you can identify that this is much cooler in feel than what is represented in the 15 pan presentation. So let's get this off and we'll hit the blues and the greens. See you back in a minute. Now we're going into the blue greens and the olive, the army green. Next time I'm on here, perhaps on a live when we do comparisons, we could intersect these, you know what I'm saying? Because ultimately, I think that's what Natasha wanted to encourage anyone who had this palette. Mantra. Here we go. Reference number 28, hitting the outer V. Just plopping it on here. That's pretty good hue of color. Given that it's this cream to powder formula, the brush is picking it up very. I look like I got a lagoon on my lid. Now we'll go in with Equilibrium and overlap that with Mantra. I could also use my finger, although I thought pretty successful with the brush, but even more so with the finger. Hey. Flow, which is the medium silver teal, placing that more on the inner part of the lid, overlapping Equilibrium to make that really nice gradient happen. And of course, Breath, for sure. That's going to be our standout matte highlight shade, which I think works so beautifully with these shades. I love a matte highlight, especially when it's pastel. I think that's why I like Triochrome, even though a lot of people didn't. It's okay. And I'm blowing out Breath on purpose just so it could look more impactful and prominent here. I think I want to take Mantra and use that shade to just now blend the edges of everything that I applied on the lid, and maybe be very careful here in taking it out. I don't want it to go too out of control. Of course, you know, we see the leftover peaches and corals from the last look. It's okay. Do I want to leave it like that? I think I do. I don't want to put anything on the bottom. Do I? I'm so indecisive. You know what? We're going to go in with Flow. The lighter of the turquoise metallic shades, and use that as our dominant lower lash line moment and connect it to Mantra here at the top. I'm taking my reference number 15 because I want a little bit more smoke here. I'm being careful because I don't want this to get too hazy, although I probably, you know what? It just happens. It's fine. I'm going to make a little more hazy down here. Why not? All right, going in with Zeal, the Army Matte. Let's see how this does, because the Safari Mattes, no one liked. I found if you punch it in first and then blend it out, you'll be more successful. It could also be the primer. I haven't used the Danessa primer extensively. My other primer is in my my carry-on, which I failed to unload when I came home as I wanted to prepare for this video. It was fine, so I gotta unpack later. Oh, that's so much fun. No, it's not. I think we're doing okay though. I appreciate how this still looks army green in tone. It just doesn't look grayish, you know, an obscure brown shade. We could go in with Yama as our prominent lid shade, or we could do Breath. I think Breath will be a lot of fun to act as like that pop of color. But you know what, to make it simple, I'm gonna do Yama on purpose, because I think if you had your eye on this and you were a little intimidated by the blue side, you can definitely take this on as like your more daily smoky friendly eye instead of having to go in with like the brights. And again, let's use Breath as inner corner highlight. Do I like that? You know what? I'm bringing in more Yama and actually overlapping Breath with it. so it could be a little more synchronized and not just look abruptly pastel and then all of a sudden duochrome. It could be a little more seamless in appearance. You could keep this as is, or maybe we could head over to Balance and use this matte to give the lower lash line just a little something to sit on, you know? You could definitely keep it bare, but I typically like to apply shadow here on the bottom. And just to make it a little more comprehensive, I'll bring in some Zeal just on the outer corner of the lower lash line, layering it on top of Balance so it doesn't look so abrupt when going from upper to lower lash line. Okay, and again, let's slap on Yama on the cheekbones here. You know what? Let's go with Tranquil. What is Tranquil doing? Oh, that's pretty. I like that. As like a cheek topper sort of a thing. All right, let's put on these lashes and I'll be right back. All right, lashes are back on. Let's take a look at the lid. I actually want to apply a little more equilibrium here. There we go. Because I think when I was blending in Mantra, I might have whipped off a little bit. And then I'm going back in with some flow. There we go. And this we have the Yama and Zeal side with a little bit of breath. We got breath on both inner corners here. I think they work out well. I kept Relief on the cheeks, but I applied Tranquil. Did I? No. Yes. Tranquil and Yama more on the cheekbones and cheek topper area, and we kept the same. I need a nude lipstick combo. And here's a wide shot of both looks, fam. Just taking a look at how it appears at this angle. Now, to quickly summarize my thoughts, I think we could all agree that this is like Natasha's greatest hits palette, despite its theme, it being about the elements and how those shades are represented in one palette. In that respect, I think she did an amazing job in including as many of the peach, earthy browns, turquoise, and greens as possible. It's interesting though that she went a little bluer in the silver category to represent metal, because I do think the silver here in the mini Zendō is definitely a truer silver, right? Whereas the silver flip or the silver undertone exists in the actual turquoise shades. Perhaps that's what she wanted to combine when it came to water and metal in regards to the elements. And when it comes to this side, the peaches and the browns and the corals, I do think this leans more coral. I wouldn't say pink, depending on how you layer them. If you stuck to Mindful, Sense, and Balance, for instance, that's going to look a little more bronze-esque. If you were, let's say, were to combine Vigor, Relief, and Calm, that will definitely be more red and peachy in nature. So if you wanted to steer away from that coral monochromatic look, then you have to be a little more strategic in terms of how you decide to combine the shades on this side of the palette. Now with this side, I do like how she included the army green. That kind of took us out of the turquoise story a bit because it's living quite heavily here with Mantra, Flow, and Equilibrium. And Breath. I'm happy Breath is in here. It's pastel, it's light, it's mint, a little bit refreshing. Kind of just gives a little break from these teal shades here. And Yama, of course, with this flip, with the green flip, I think an appropriate duochrome to have with shades that are both turquoise green and brown coral, right? I think that's a good duochrome to tie both sides together. And if you have mini Zendō, this is definitely not the same. This is cooler in nature. And if I were to quickly swatch this shade here, this is the prominent peach shade that exists. That was, people weren't too crazy about. This definitely was the weakest shade out of the bunch. Something I would consider to be more of a topper shade versus like a prominent metallic shades like the ones found in the big Zendō palette. So that was Tranquil. This is Aura. So you see these have a lot more body, and the one that exists in the mini Zendō is lightweight. It's more of a veil topper effect. I would think that this is a nice pairing to the big Zendō. Again, because let's say for instance, I wanted to hop in here and use the official name is stripped. Let me just use the names. I could apply stripped on this eye and have like a nice silver metallic moment that leans a little green. I think it's a very unique shade. Instead of having to rely on breath, if I wanted to change it up, I could also use, let's say I wanted to combine this bronze shade, which is called Stark, with either, let's see here, Mindful or even Sense, right? To make these not as warm and cinnamony in appearance, but kind of ground it down a little bit with like that mauve tone. So if you already have the mini, you're not going to have many repeats in the bigger Zendō palette. So if that was your concern, I don't think you'll run into that problem. Now, in terms of you being a Natasha Denona fan like myself, if you have all of her palettes, you can definitely create these looks with her other palettes. If you have Metropolis, you got your turquoises right there. If you have the bronze palette, you got the bronzes right here. You know what I mean? To create the looks that we did in our first round. I think Zendō is great for someone who does not own a single Natasha Denona palette. Maybe they own the minis or like the other 5-pan moments that she had, but I think mostly the minis she released. If you find that this was the one that you've been waiting for, that included a little bit of both, a little bit of the warm and the blues, then this is perfect. I would say this is something you don't have to rush to get if you have all the Natasha Denona palettes. In terms of consistency, I do think, and I have to use this again, this is one of the palettes that I think have consistently performing cream to powder formulas. Mindful and Mantra, amazing. I loved how they laid on the lid. You saw how when we put Mantra on for the first time, it was like bam. And the other metallics here, you definitely have to warm it up. And if you want a little more shine, I would suggest that you either apply with a finger or apply it wet. I think the powder mattes perform well too. Zio, make sure you use the right primer with, because olive mattes can be tricky, right? But I do think it looked quite smooth when you took a little time to blend it out. The color looked exactly how it appeared in pan. Overall, again, in terms of the smaller palettes, performance and consistency, I think it's there. And the fact that you can double this as a cheek palette, like you could probably use Balance. Do we want to do that? Hold on. A cheek moment, I think it's going to be very terracotta in tone. Oh, but maybe just a little bit in like the hollows? That works for me. Ooh, ooh. So in terms of versatility, in that respect, I think Zendō is great. Yama on the cheekbones, because it's that coral green flip, I think will look beautiful on numerous skin tones. Maybe if you're deeper in skin tone, you're going to get a stronger green flip. If you're lighter than me, you're probably going to get more of a coral, and you'll probably have to wear it lower on the cheeks instead of on the actual cheekbone. Relief, I think a great shade for blush. And if you're deeper, you could probably experiment with Vigor to see how that appears on the cheeks. And all these shades, Aura, Tranquil, Calm, okay? Listen, and Luster could be a beautiful highlight moment for deeper skin tones as well, because it has like that copper gold flip to it, which I think is quite beautiful. And if you love turquoises, then they're here, right? So don't feel like you have to get this. Of course, if you are a Natasha Denona fan and whatever she comes out with, you buy right away, that's your prerogative. I hear you, friend, because I do the same thing. But if you're one that wants to make a practical makeup choice, again, if you have all of Natasha's palettes, you can definitely recreate, not only with Natasha palettes, but several other palettes you might own. You can create the same looks that we did in this video. And of course, hoping that this might serve as inspiration. Maybe you have similar shades in your collection. You didn't quite know how to pair them together, and this kind of boosted your mind frame in a way, and now you're going to get to it and create all the looks. Would I recommend it? Absolutely. I would absolutely recommend it, but I think I would recommend it more so, again, to the person who does not have a lot of Natasha Denona palettes or none at all. Maybe they don't even have one of the $65 pan size, and they were waiting for the one that had best of all the Natasha Denona worlds rolled into one. Which is my favorite so far? That's really tough, you know, as much as I've been loving the looks I created with Zendō, bronze by far out of the minis I think still is my favorite, even more than Zendō, because I love the blues, I do, and I love the fact that they're in the same palette. So if I wanted to just change my mind and not go warm, I can definitely go with the turquoises and just change it up. So in terms of practicality, absolutely, I could just rely on that one palette and have all the looks. And with that said, maybe a little more diverse. If you like blues too and you don't want to just have the warm browns, you can definitely go from one to the other. But when it comes to bronze, I don't know what it is. It's just so beautiful. Let me know what you're thinking, fam, down below. I would love to do a live video swatching and comparing other Natasha Denona shades. Of course, I didn't do it in this one because I wanted to get this up as quickly as possible. Again, not to make you buy it, just so you can get an idea of the palette before it goes live, even though I it was mailed to me before I went live, but whatever. If you have dupes from other brands, let us know down below so we could take those suggestions and maybe someone has the same one and we can create similar looks. And again, not only will I do comparison swatches in the upcoming live, which I would like to do on Saturday, we'll do another round of looks also just to see how much more we can get out of Zendō. I'll see you down in the comments, fam, and until then, that is a wrap. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video helped, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and maybe consider subscribing to my channel. And until then, I will see you in here again with another review tutorial, Natasha Denona Palette Extravaganza, monthly favorites, or Saturday brunch chit chat. See you then for the Natasha Denona Zendo Palette edition. Take care, and I'll see you again soon.